Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming my March wrap-up and my April TBR. So if you'd like to see all the books that I read in March and what I am planning to read in April, please keep watching. So the first book I finished in March, I actually don't have here with me. I left it at home after my spring break. That was Days of Blood and Starlight by Laini Taylor. This was the second book in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy, and this was probably my favorite installment in the series. I think it's either the first one or the second one, but I think the second one was definitely my personal favorite, just because it was really like action oriented and I got through it really quickly. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars on Goodreads just because I feel like I liked it a lot, but I definitely had some issues with it. I'm not going to go into them just because I don't want to get like super spoilery or anything, but I enjoyed it. It just wasn't my all-time favorite book. The next book I finished in March was Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor. This is the third and final installment in the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy. I also gave this 4 to 5 stars, but I definitely liked it less than the second one. So I didn't like it less enough to vote like rated a 3 stars, but I definitely didn't enjoy this one as much. I felt like the ending got really slow and like there were just things I didn't agree with too much in this book. I'm thinking of doing a review like for the trilogy as a whole, because I feel like I have enough to say about the whole trilogy, not so much like each particular book. So I might make a video about that. Comment down below if you'd be interested in that. But yeah, this was good. It just definitely wasn't my favorite. I think this would be my least favorite installment of the series, and that tends to happen in trilogies, that the third book tends to be the weakest for me. The next book I read was The 100 Lies of Lizzie Lovett by Chelsea Sidoti. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. I had quite a few issues with this book. I'm not going to go too in depth. I'm thinking of doing a review on this just because there's so many things I want to talk about that are very spoilery. This was good. I got really into it. It's about this girl who's basically obsessed with this popular girl in her town named Lizzie Lovett. Lizzie Lovett goes missing one day, and our protagonist, Hawthorne Creeley, basically like starts trying to like live her life, like gets her old job, and starts hanging out with Lizzie Lovett's boyfriend and stuff like that, and like I guess kind of goes about trying to solve what happened to her, but at the same time just kind of escaping her own life into Lizzie's. It was strange on a lot of levels, but I didn't hate it. There were parts of this book that I really liked, and there were parts of this book that I really didn't like. There's literally a part on the back of this book that says, "Readers can't get enough of Hawthorne Creeley, our main character," and I don't agree with that. I found Hawthorne to be very immature and really annoying, and like she's 17 but she acts like she's 12, and like yes, it's coming of age in a way. It is coming of age. It's just I'm not really into characters who are like 17, 18 who act like they're 13 years old, and this was one of those books, and there were just parts of this that were so childish and they just made me cringe and made me like literally I had to put the book down so many times. But I did end up flying through this. It was okay. There were just aspects of it, like when you read a contemporary, you're expecting contemporary. There were just aspects of this that I was like, are we going in a different genre here? You'll know what I mean if you read this. I just wasn't my favorite. And the last book I finished in March was A Mercy by Toni Morrison. I read this for my Other Americas literature course. I gave this 3 out of 5 stars on Goodreads. It was really, really good and really, really well done, and it says a lot about the time period, which is basically during slavery and indentured servants and stuff like that, and it takes place in Virginia, I believe, during this time, and it follows the story of a slave girl who is brought to a plantation where she is like well loved, like she's well treated, and basically her story, and it's a lot. I can't really... There's not like a true plot here. It was a lot of character development and, you know, really trying to pack in themes and, you know, Toni Morrison trying to make a point and stuff like that, which makes sense for this kind of literature. You jump around a lot in perspectives, and you really don't really know who you're reading from sometimes, because you won't meet a character and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, who is this? Or like they don't state it out right. There's very many characters that you read from in this, so it can be a little confusing and a little challenging, but overall I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really well done novel, and I gave it 3 out of 5 stars. So I only read 4 books in March, and that was because a couple of them sent me into a little bit of a reading slump. After I finished Dreams of Gods and Monsters, I kind of like said, you're not allowed to read another book until you finish A Mercy for school, and then after that I kind of induced a little bit of a reading slump, and then I read Lizzie Lovett, and that just kind of turned me off from reading for a second. But I'm hoping to read a few more books in April, so without further ado, I'm going to jump into the books I'm hoping to read then. So the first book I'm hoping to finish in April is a book I've already started and should have finished in March, and that is Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh. I'm reading this, well, was supposed to have read this for my contemporary British authors course. I'm actually hoping to write an essay on this, and I have a draft due Friday, which is really scary because I haven't actually finished it. I'm about halfway through. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It takes a lot to get into this. It's basically another coming-of-age story about a guy named Charles Flight who is living in London, and just of his life, and his life is at Oxford, and his, no, not Charles Flight. His name's Charles Ryder, and he is involved with the Flight family, who is this really wealthy, kind of aristocratic family, and it kind of tells a story about how aristocratic families were kind of crumbling in Britain at this time and disappearing, and how the British culture was changing and all that stuff. And it definitely isn't super plot driven, and it's a lot of character development. It's a lot of culture understanding, like things that you're trying to be taught through Evelyn Waugh's writing, and it's kind of autobiographical in a way of Evelyn Waugh, from what I've understood of this. I am trying to write a paper on it, and I have a draft due of that, so I have to write 6 pages and finish this book by Friday, so fingers crossed I do that. The next book I will have to finish for my Other Americas course, and that is The Farming of Bones by Edward Danicat. I've already started this for class. I'm actually really interested in this. This is also during slavery times. It takes place in the Dominican Republic, and it's about a bunch of Haitian workers who are basically, well, they're not slaves, they're servants. And it's just kind of it is talking about the Parsley Massacre that occurred. And if you don't know what the Parsley Massacre was, it's basically a time in history when the Dominicans were really against Haitians, and whenever at the border they patrolled the border, and people coming in and out, and they asked them to pronounce parsley, and in their language the Haitians didn't trill the R and the Dominicans did. So if you trilled the R, you were saved, and if you didn't, you were killed. It also had a lot to do with skin color and how dark you were and stuff like that. But basically, like, thousands of people died in like 6 days, I think it is, and this kind of talks about a young girl who is living during the time of that and trying to get out of the Dominican Republic and back into Haiti. So this has been really interesting. It's way easier to read than A Mercy, so I'm like way more engaged in it. But yeah, we'll just get all the school books out of the way. Next up, I'm going to have to read Atonement by Ian McEwan for my contemporary British authors course. I have already read this. I read this my senior year of high school and absolutely loved it. So I am so excited to read this. I actually wanted to do my paper for that class on this book, but because we have a draft due on Friday and we don't actually start reading until Tuesday, it doesn't really work out. But I'm so excited to read this and discuss it because I just love discussing books I already love. So yay. And the last book I'm going to have to read for school is Selected Poems by Derek Walcott. This is just a bunch of poems by Derek Walcott. I'm not really looking forward to reading this. This is for my Other Americas literature course again. I just don't love poetry, so I'm not thrilled. The next book the next book I've already finished in April because it is the 4th when I'm filming and hopefully uploading this, so I have actually already finished a book this month, and that is Wink Poppy Midnight by April Genevieve Tolock. I have no idea how to say that. So I already read this. I'm not going to go too in depth about how I felt about it because I actually might make a video about this and Lizzie Lovett like together, because my feelings about this parallel my feelings about Lizzie Lovett in that this was weird. Beautiful writing, just weird. That's all I'm gonna say for right now. I'll go in more detail in my wrap-up, or if I create a video about the 2 of these, I'll go into more detail, but yeah. So this month I am hoping to take part in 2 readathons, those being the Tome Topple Readathon, which takes place from the 7th to the 21st, I want to say. I want to say it's the 21st, the 7th to the 21st, and that's basically trying to read books over 500 pages. I'm not actually, guys, going to tell you what I'm hoping to read because I'm actually going to upload a video tomorrow with my TBR, but I'll give you a sneak peek. These are the three of the books that I'm hoping to get through. I actually don't think I'm going to get through these at all, but you know, you can probably guess what these are. Comment down below what you think these are. And then come back tomorrow to find out if you're right. You can probably see the top one, but whatever. And the other readathon I'm hoping to take part in is the Dewey's 24-hour readathon, which takes place on the 29th of April. It is right in the middle of finals for me, but I actually don't have a final on the 28th, and I have one, or the 29th. I have one on the 28th, and then May 1st and 2nd, so I'm hoping I can like get some reading done those days. Fingers crossed. I will be uploading later in the month my TBR for that because I'm still not totally sure what I'm going to try to read. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Comment, like, subscribe, all the normal stuff, and I'll see you guys again soon. Bye!